Hello everyone and welcome back to Abundantly Minimal. I have dreamed about making this video for so long, and after 14 months of trying to conceive, I am so relieved and overjoyed to share that I am finally pregnant, and we are expecting a baby this April. The first thing I want to do though is just send a huge hug out there to anyone who is struggling with infertility. Whew, what a journey, right? And I also want to give so much love and hope to anyone who's struggling. Oh gosh, already? I just started the video. But it was such a tough time, and unfortunately, just the way it is whenever there was a pregnancy announcement when we were trying to conceive, unfortunately, my first thoughts weren't feeling happy. There were feelings of pain and jealousy and just that longing. And so I'm really hopeful, if you are struggling to conceive, that it does happen very soon for you. And also I'm hoping that this announcement doesn't make your day worse. And also I respect if you do need to not watch the rest of the video. I'm just sending so much love your way, because people who don't go through this will never understand the pain that comes from it. So I'm sending you so much love. There will be a lot in this video today. I know some people, when they announce a pregnancy, they do, like a 5-part series of like all this early stuff. We're just putting it in one video today to make it easy. And because this wasn't just a super easy and joyful process, we're going to also start with the treatment details that worked, just because if someone else is struggling, I want them to know, to advocate for themselves. And if they have similar issues, maybe the treatment that we used worked, because it's not the standard treatment provided for PCOS, like with regular doctors' clinics. It was a little bit more advanced. And then also I have 4, I feel like, the biggest takeaways and tips for anyone who is struggling to get pregnant, just with tips that, if followed, I know at least for me, could have saved me about 6 months, I think, of this journey, maybe more. And also some mindset shifts, even if you haven't started trying to conceive, but you maybe are a planner like me and you want to optimize what you can beforehand. So I'll share that. Then we'll get into the traditional fun stuff. I'll share when we found out we were pregnant. I'll also share the first trimester overview. I'll share gender reveal situation, and then I'll also talk about second trimester, since I'm already 18 weeks today as the day I'm filming this, and I probably will wait a couple more weeks though to upload, because we'll have the 20-week scan or ultrasound coming up where they really go deep and just want to make sure everything's good. But excited to film this today. So without further ado, let's jump right in. As I had shared in my 1 year of infertility video, we had started with treatments at a fertility center, and in that video, the quick overview is that the first few cycles of us trying to get pregnant, I really was not very informed about what was going on, and I wasn't doing everything I possibly could in terms of being the most proactive. And then I also had kind of a crappy doctor who ended up also helping delay the process and wasn't willing to help or prescribe certain things that, from my research, could have helped. So that definitely wasted time too. But once I got to the fertility center, literally everything got better. We were able to get testing that we needed right away, and they prescribed me first on metformin, which is technically a diabetes medication, but it is used to help a lot of people with PCOS. So that worked out well. There's a lot of people who talk about side effects, but I actually didn't experience any side effects really. I was on the extended release version and taking it, I believe, 1,500 milligrams per day with a 500 milligram extended release capsule with each meal, or pill with each meal. So they started me on that, and that was earlier on. And then I should have been a little bit more proactive and not resistant to medication, additional medication, because I had a 78-day cycle, which is definitely not good. But it sort of looked like maybe my body was trying to ovulate. So I did eventually take some progesterone that I had been prescribed to induce a period to be able to start our first treated cycle. So that first treatment, I had started that treatment when I was making that video, but I didn't have the results of that treatment. That first cycle ended up being unsuccessful to get pregnant, but it was successful in the sense that I did respond exactly as I was supposed to with the medication. So my protocol was I was still on the metformin, 1,500 milligrams a day. I was also prescribed letrozole, 5 milligrams per day, taken in the evening, day 5 through 9 of the cycle. Now, the fertility center was great with me, and they had me do day 5 through 9 as opposed to the very common day 3 through 7. And that was done with me because if you take it, they told me if you take it day 5 through 9, you're less likely to have as many follicles develop, which means less chance of multiples like twins or triplets. And also it can help them grow bigger. So one issue with me, I have PCOS, but also I have a very high antral follicle count, basically the number of eggs present each month. My numbers were about 4 times as high as the average person my age. So an average person my age would have maybe around like 10 to 12 eggs per ovary each cycle. And essentially the idea is that the eggs grow, there will be a dominant one that is released, and then that's the one that can get pregnant. It's released when you ovulate. I don't ovulate on my own. We learned through the process. So anyway, I actually, when they counted, I had 93 eggs total, which really showed that I had not ovulated in a long time. And also because there were so many eggs, the hormones my body was producing was not enough to help the eggs grow enough and then release a dominant egg to ovulate. It just wasn't happening. So by doing days 5 through 9, it helped me not over-respond and have like too many eggs grow, which was good. And each cycle, I had the 2 cycles I did, I had 2 dominant eggs grow. On days 10, 12, and 14, they had me come in for a blood test and ultrasound. The blood test would test my hormone levels, and the ultrasound would look to see how the follicles had grown, and they were looking to get them mature. The ideal number we were looking for was between 18 and 20 to be like fully mature and have a good shot. And then they would, based on my results, give me instructions on when to administer the trigger shot, which was Avidrel, 250 milligrams or micrograms of something that I'm not remembering right now, but I'll put it in the cards or on the screen. And that's basically to turbocharge ovulation. And you can't generally get the injections when you're just going with your regular doctor. But, you know, I had not ovulated, maybe in years, maybe ever. So I was like, yes, let's do the injection. It was $200 for the injection, so that kind of sucked. But, you know, it is what it is, right? And so did that, and basically you are estimated to ovulate 24 to 48 hours after the injection, though the average is like 36 to 40 hours is when people will ovulate. Anyway, long story short, that first cycle was unsuccessful. On day 14, I had a 16 millimeter and a 20 millimeter measurement for the 2 dominant eggs, and that was tricky because the 20 might have matured to be too large by the time the injection was delivered, and the 16 maybe matured enough, maybe it didn't. Also, I didn't disclose this in my last video, but Jake and I both had unfortunately caught COVID from our Alaska cruise that happened just before this cycle, and Jake did have a bad fever. So from my research, it does look like a fever can especially affect like sperm count, so it's very possible we were not going to be successful that cycle anyway. So that cycle didn't work, but we started up in July for the cycle that ultimately ended up being successful. So in this one, the day 14, ultrasound showed I had basically 2 almost, I don't want to call them twins because they weren't twins, but in each ovary we had an 18 or 19 millimeter follicle, which would become an egg. So that was really exciting because it kind of felt like 2 chances. And, you know, in case one was not chromosomally normal, then, you know, you've got at least one other chance. And miraculously, we did get pregnant that cycle. A couple just big picture tips to anyone who is struggling with infertility, or again, if you're like a planning type like me and you want to be proactive, there's a couple things here that can help. The first thing that I didn't realize is that you can actually understand your fertility much better before you even start trying to get pregnant. So I previously thought it was kind of like an on and off switch, right? It's like, okay, we're starting, we're gonna try to get pregnant. And you just begin that journey and then you see how it goes. But actually a lot can be done ahead of time. First things first, I just went to grab this. Please read Period Repair Manual. This book, out of like over a dozen books that I read, was incredibly helpful because it tells you what a period should look like, what a cycle should look like. And so if yours doesn't, then this is where you can say, what's going on? What's the problem here? And they give you like very specific troubleshooting steps to help you understand. Had I not previously gotten the PCOS diagnosis, this might have helped me understand, oh yeah, my cycle's not normal. So please read this. This is such an important book. Second, this maybe is more so an issue for people with PCOS, but it's something that you can test very easily ahead of time, even if you're not trying to get pregnant. And that is buy some ovulation test strips or ovulation predictor kits. They are fairly affordable. I think you can buy versions that are like $10 or less. Basically, you just test your pee once a day, or some people maybe do it twice a day, and it helps you determine when you're ovulating by looking for a rise in LH hormone. And essentially, this is something easy you can do without actually trying to get pregnant, and just to see, oh, like if I had done this before, I would have found out, oh, I'm not ovulating. Or at the very least, if you get abnormal results, you can then perceive, maybe something's wrong. Let me try to get to the bottom of this before I start trying to get pregnant. And likewise, even if nothing's wrong, you'll be able to see, okay, it looks like at least on this cycle, I am ovulating on day whatever of my cycle. So the standard thing people say is like day 14, but that's only if you have the perfect 28-day cycle that a lot of people don't have. And if you have some fluctuations in your cycle, it just helps to know, okay, when is like the peak chance that I can get pregnant? Like when is that in the month? And lastly, I was actually surprised how cheap and easy it was for Jake to get the semen analysis once we started with a fertility clinic. It was $10, and if we didn't have insurance, the full price would have been $70. But I think that can be important because 40 to 50% of all fertility issues do come from the man. Sometimes people think it's more so the woman, and it wasn't my case, but if you find out these things ahead of time, that can make things so much easier for the whole journey. So doing those three things ahead of time before you want to start trying to get pregnant can diagnose a lot of potential problems and help you identify what you need to do to be able to move forward. I highly recommend trying those out if you are someone who doesn't want to find yourself in a really slow process and deal with the pain of that. Second tip, please ditch bad doctors. They definitely exist, and I had one. She just really wasn't receptive to my concerns. She wouldn't prescribe me things that are proven to help so many people. And had I known she wasn't really going to do anything, even when she said, come back in 6 months, then I would have, saved time and been more proactive earlier on rather than waiting till that appointment rolled around. So if a doctor is not listening to you, or if you're just not feeling like they're going to help you, ditch them. Find someone else, because there's definitely people out there who can help. Likewise, even if you do have a good doctor, I've learned, even though I don't like confrontation, I do need to advocate for myself more and be a little bit more, I don't want to use the word aggressive, but assertive to make sure my needs are being met. I loved the fertility center overall, and they helped me so much. It was like a breath of fresh air. But even there, I did have to advocate for myself. I ended up using letrozole as the medication to induce ovulation, but they initially were suggesting that I use Clomid, which is an older option that people have used, but in more recent trials, letrozole tends to help women with PCOS get pregnant on average 2 months faster and earlier with higher success rates, because Clomid also can thin your uterine lining, which can make implantation trickier. So long story short, I had to advocate for myself, even there to say, no, I want letrozole. I don't want Clomid. And you think the doctor would be up to date on, all the studies, but, that's what all my online research came in handy there. And we did conceive on our second cycle with letrozole, so I do think it ultimately helped. So you just make sure you advocate for yourself, even if you don't ditch doctors or even if your doctor is good. Third tip, lifestyle changes are great, but they might not help. You might just need to go with the medications. During our time of trying to get pregnant, I actually wrote these out because there was so much that I did in my personal life to try to get pregnant. and to try to, things that were supposed to help, right? So I lost over 10% of my body weight. I lowered my carbs and added sugar. I did 12 acupuncture sessions that were specifically designed for fertility, so 3 months worth. I slept an extra hour of sleep each night, even though it was so hard for me to do. I walked daily. I'd been doing that for like years. Lifted weights a couple times a week. I don't love that, but I heard that could help. I reduced my workload and stress levels. Bought several tools to help me manage that, like the Aura Ring and the Anito fertility monitor. So I had to, test my pee like at least half the mornings in a month to see what was going on. I read over a dozen books about fertility and PCOS, periods, all of that. I took so many supplements that were recommended for fertility, PCOS, egg quality, that kind of thing. Jake was also taking supplements as well. We already were using a lot of more non-toxic products and avoiding things like endocrine disruptors, but we maintained doing that. I did fertility meditations. Generally just spent hours learning about as much as I could. And I did all that, and despite doing all that, literally none of it worked, right? None of that was successful. I'm not going to say that it ultimately didn't help, but when I did these things, it did not lead to a pregnancy. Only when I did, the harder drugs with the, metformin, a diabetes medication, letrozole, a breast cancer medication, the Abidrel injection, and then they also put me on progesterone suppositories that you have to insert once a day, 200 milligrams. That was ultimately what worked. So it's great when there's all those suggestions out there, do this, try this. And yeah, sometimes you just need the medication, and there's no shame in that. I know sometimes I try to avoid medications, but this experience has really taught me that you just got to go with them sometimes. And lastly, I really didn't expect it would take us so long to get pregnant. And so at first we sort of put some things on hold in life because I really thought, well, if I'm pregnant, I'm not going to want to be traveling or doing some of these other things. But ultimately, after it, started taking at least half a year, it's like, okay, I don't want to put my life on hold. I want to still live a vibrant, full, and meaningful life, even if we're not getting pregnant. And so I'm glad we did that. Obviously, we moved into our dream forever home, so we're all set up to have our kids. And that's such a luxury now that I'm so grateful for. We made it to Hawaii and Alaska, which were the last of the 50 states that we hadn't visited. And that was this spring. We visited both of those places. And then we also booked an amazing Adriatic Sea cruise in August. So I was actually pregnant on the cruise. I'll get into that in a little bit. But I'm so glad I did these things because it takes the edge off a little bit of the sadness of not getting pregnant. It still sucks, but it's nice to be able to have positive memories from the year and not just feel so dejected after it's not working. So please keep living your life as much as possible. And with that in mind, now I think we can get to the happy stuff, right? The stuff that people are normally doing in their pregnancy videos. But I just thought it's important to highlight that. And because it's so, it's very much part of my journey and so many others, I just felt compelled to do that stuff at the start. Anyway, let's talk about finding out that we're pregnant. So let's get into the specifics here. Unfortunately, I don't have footage just because after a while, when it's not working out, it just feels really depressing to film yourself looking at the test. So therefore, no cute clip here this time. But basically, July 30th, I was going to do my first test. This was 10 days after ovulation based on the injection, the timing of the injection. And I was so mad because I slept terrible. I mean, I have a lot of sleep issues. So I had slept terrible. And of course, when you're up in the middle of the night, you go to the bathroom. And so then you can't rely on that test in the morning. So basically, I still use one of my crappy tests that I had that were cheap that come in like a 50 pack. So nothing from that. And I was mad because I wanted it to be a first test for the cycle. Anywho, day 11 post-ovulation, that is July 31st. This is where we find out we're pregnant. So I had a crappy night of sleep, the day before. So then usually I had a better night of sleep then. I was able to sleep through the night, fortunately. And so the test I was able to count on. So I start out, Jake's like very sleepy and slow to wake up. So he's still in the bed when the alarm went off. And so I go in there and I'm very, hyped up about testing. With that, just expecting it to know, I test out the trigger shot to make sure there's no false positive, since at first, a couple days after the trigger shot, it will show a positive. But mentally, that's very different because you're looking for that, right? Anyway, I do the crappy test, and I can't tell. So it's not like nothing, but it's not something, right? So I'm like, huh. And so it's like a confusion. It's not like, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant. But I'm like, okay, let me test again. And of course, technicalities here. Some people pee on the stick, and other people, you have a little cup and you dip. So I use the little cup method, so I'm able to test multiple times. Fortunately, I wouldn't want to have to be patient and wait again. Anywho, so I grab then my still not as fancy test, but the tests that maybe come in like a 10-pack that are also still the little strips. Test that, wait and see. And I'm definitely thinking there could be something there. It's not nothing. And I'm telling Jake this as he's like laying in bed. So he's like kind of waking up more. I'm like, okay, so this happened. I don't know. And the second test, I'm now thinking maybe this is actually real. So then I have first response tests. Now these are a couple dollars per test. So you don't use them just casually. Like this is more like an official test. So I test that one. And this is my first, oh my goodness, I'm pregnant moment when I see the line. Jake is there with me and we're shocked. It's such an it's truly amazing to actually see that. Didn't think that would get me, but it's undeniable. It's there. I can't believe it. I'm telling Jake to get ready because we need to go tell my parents. I want to go surprise them. So that's amazing. And then the last pregnancy test, because I also had purchased a couple of the clear blue digital ones where it tells you pregnant or not pregnant. And so I'm like, okay, this is my final test. I'm pretty sure I'm pregnant, but let me just, for actually showing it to people, I want to have it say pregnant, right? So that it's not like, what am I looking at? So I take the clear blue, it says pregnant, which is also just, so amazing to see. So yeah, we're getting ready. Can't believe it. Truly crazy. And so it's like 10 a.m. at this point. Jake finishes getting ready, and my parents live 7 minutes away. I'm super close with them. I have kept them informed of everything, in this process. So I'm like, I have to tell them. I can't keep this a secret, right? So we drive over there unannounced because I had planned that to surprise them. So yeah, we go to their house. For whatever reason, their doorbell isn't working. So it doesn't go off and there's no answer. I don't remember if I knocked or not. And so it's like, no, I need to tell them. I also knew my dad was going to be out of town for a few days with a friend. So I walk around the backyard of their house and it's so cute. I see them. The windows are open because it's like a nice morning. And they're sitting next to each other on the couch in their sunroom working on their morning crossword puzzle. So it's just like so cute, right? And so the windows are open. So I'm like, hi guys. I forgot saying that, but that's what my mom said. And I held up the stick. And so my mom's like, oh my God, oh my gosh. So they rush out to come get us and show them that and tell them that I'm pregnant. And yeah, just so many hugs. It was such a happy moment. And just kind of like shock that it was real and seeing that for the first time. And then while we're there, we FaceTime my sister. She's at work. And so at first she doesn't answer the call because, she probably is like, why are they trying to FaceTime me? Because I had my mom or dad was the one FaceTiming, not me, so it wasn't suspicious. But I just had the pregnancy test like in front of the camera ready. And so she was so excited. And yeah, it was just a very special morning. I also then on the drive back texted the picture of the pregnancy test to 4 of my friends. One of my friends who also had been struggling with infertility but got pregnant, and we'd been keeping in touch about that. Vera from Simple Happy Zen, we're very close, as well as two of my other friends I had seen relatively recently and were informed of my ups and downs. So it just felt so exciting to be able to share that. Now, we did not share with any other people, like besides these people, right away. I know that there is a lot of fear with sharing, but I knew that I wanted to share with people I could count on, that I would need to lean on if it didn't end up working out. That was the decision at the start. What was crazy though is basically a little over a week after finding out we were pregnant, we were going on our Adriatic Sea cruise in Europe. And so I knew when we booked the cruise, we were trying to get pregnant and, kind of moving forward, getting ready for different treatments. Now with this cruise, this is with Vegan Travel, who we've traveled with before and love, and it just makes the trip awesome and so easy. I love cruises in general, but also the vegan cruise, you don't even have to think about what you're eating because it's like everything you can eat, right? So usually when they post their trips, they sell out very fast, number one, but also they post them like 2 years in advance, which if you're trying to get pregnant, you can't plan like 2 years from now what you're doing. But for some reason, I saw an email, this was maybe back in May, that they were launching this trip in August. And I was like, well, we could do that. Like, hopefully I'll be pregnant, but that's not that many months away. And so I debated about it and I told Jake, it's like, look, number one, I want to get pregnant. That's my number one goal. But if this cruise happens and I'm not on it and I'm not pregnant, I will be devastated. I really want to do this. And so we were like, you know what, let's book it. Let's do it. If we got pregnant that first month after, I know we could cancel and avoid, most of the fee, but we booked it anyway. And so it was wild to realize basically I think it was July 31st and we were leaving August 8th. So it was a pretty narrow window after that we were leaving. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm going to be pregnant on this cruise. Very early pregnant, but still pregnant. But that was good ultimately because I did a lot of research to anticipate what I might experience. And I brought all the things with me. I had Tums because I heard some people had like heartburn or indigestion. I had these I learned a lot for reducing nausea. And so what seemed to help a lot of people were vitamin B6 lozenges, and I had ginger ones as well. And taking Unisom, I took a half tablet before bed. And so I was ready with that stuff. I even had these portable vomit bags that were ready. I kept them with me at all times just in case. And so yeah, I was really prepared for it. And I had lots of snacks, protein bars, especially because I know that having more protein can be helpful. So basically that was good because I did a lot of research and prep and brought all that stuff with me just in case. Because the time I was going to be on the cruise was technically weeks 4.5 through 7.5. So first trimester, but early. And it actually ended up being amazing. The cruise was the trip of a lifetime, and we met some really great people on board. So it was funny, I wasn't telling a lot of people we knew here at home, but it's like, yeah, guys, I'm pregnant, since it's like, you're probably never going to see a lot of them again. But yeah, we made a lot of great friends on there. The food was amazing. I never missed out on any excursions, any meals, and we booked almost all the excursions. So I was like, I want to see all this stuff. So we had an amazing time. The first 2 nights of the trip, I did have nausea and I was trying to throw up and couldn't. So I was like, whoa, these symptoms are coming fast. So I started doing the B6 lozenges and the Unisom, and that helped right away. I felt great overall the rest of the trip. Just kept doing that stuff. And I also found for me to avoid nausea, I needed to eat more regularly. So we had our 3 epic meals on the cruise, but then they had a great coffee tea station. I don't drink coffee, but I had some rose tea, which I had heard was safe, and did it with some soy milk to make it more protein oriented. And then I also, when I woke up in the middle of the night, I ate half a protein bar, and then I ate the rest of the protein bar later on between meals. So I just made sure I was not going too long without food, and I was fine. So that was awesome. Amazing time. I do get back home, and Starting around week 8, things did get tougher for me in terms of the nausea ramping up a bit more and needing to lay down a lot more was really how that manifested. So I was definitely, laying down probably 1 to 3 hours per day on the couch mostly. Sometimes I did take a nap in the middle of the day. But yeah, it definitely was a lot worse feeling then. But I was grateful. We did the trip and all was well. One symptom ended up being awesome, and that was like the tiredness. So for the first time in my life, I think I understood what it means to like be tired at a normal time, and I was sleeping awesome. So I know for a lot of people, they have fatigue, and for me, I've always been so high energy. I had never experienced before, like it gets to be 10:30 or 11 at night, and it's like, whoa, I have to go to bed. I can't do anything anymore. I am so tired. I was shocked. And the beauty is when you go to bed at like 11, you wake up so much easier in the morning. And I was getting, honestly, the best sleep of my life for like, at least my adult life. I have always struggled with sleep, even as a kid. And so to be able to, I fell asleep so fast. It was amazing. Granted, I was also taking the Unisomp, so that is technically a sleep aid that helps with the nausea. So it is possible that was part of it. But wow, that was incredible. And I think it helped me understand just truly how insane my normal energy levels are. That like for the first time I felt tired, in the 10:30 to 11 window. It's like I have to go to bed. So my energy has increased more, so sleep's been a little tougher second trimester, but yeah, first trimester weeks, like since we got home from the trip through like week 12 or 13, amazing sleep, off the chart sleep scores. So I loved that. I know the fatigue can be challenging for people, but for me, having a little bit more of that fatigue was a gift because people just don't understand when I tell them I just can't like get that much sleep or I can't go to bed that early. And now I finally get it, like what maybe normal people feel like. Nausea was definitely for me the worst symptom I experienced first trimester. But fortunately I only ended up throwing up 3 times. And that was like in weeks 10 to 11. I know at week 9, I got nervous because we did hospital tours because I wanted to figure out where we were going to give birth. And during one of the tours, I started like coughing and like gagging, which was not ideal. So I had to leave the room, and one of the nurses there, she's like, oh my gosh, let me get you like a cup of water. And they were very sweet. We did decide that will be the hospital we're going with. As I was saying, I did only end up throwing up 3 times, and that was week 10 and 11. So in week 10, one of the days I was feeling a little better, and so I didn't take my 3 vitamin B6 lozenges that I was normally taking spread out throughout the day. I just took 2 of them. And so the next day I felt really bad and unfortunately did throw up twice that day. And I couldn't do anything that day. I just had to lay down the whole day, except I did have a dentist appointment. So that was not ideal, but we made it through. So I was like, whoa, I think I need to just keep taking my B6 lozenges and my Unisomp no matter what, just to make sure that we feel good. So that was kind of a good wake-up call and a rough day. And then in week 11, I did throw up as well because this I think was my own fault. I took my prenatal vitamins in the morning with my breakfast as opposed to at night with my dinner. And in general, taking them with dinner can help with the nausea because you've got like more food in your stomach and whatnot. I know like the iron in prenatals can be part of the problem. So anyway, I took them in the morning because we had a concert that night. And yeah, bad choice. So anyway, I was very lucky though overall, I think. I think one thing though that has just been very interesting about my experience overall being pregnant, as well as especially after going through the 14 months of trying to get pregnant, is I've found it's tough, like when people ask you how it's been, I've generally said, oh, it's been pretty great. Like it hasn't been that hard, or I felt pretty good. And they're like, oh, so you weren't nauseous? And it's like, no, I was nauseous almost daily, but I think perception is so wild because I think I assumed it was going to be a tougher experience. But in reality, it's felt so much easier compared to the pain of that 14 months of waiting to see that positive pregnancy test. So I don't know. Was it mellow for me because I expected worse? Was it mellow for me because I got lucky? Was it mellow for me because I was very proactive with the medications? Was it mellow for me just because I was so grateful and happy that it didn't matter if I didn't feel bad? So I don't really know how to kind of sum it up, because I think that all these other factors can maybe play a role in it. So yeah, I could have just been lucky, could have been gratitude, could have been, being proactive. I don't know. So yeah, it's definitely been an interesting experience. And I do think when I'm pregnant again in the future with, according to the plan, kid number 2 and 3 later, I'll be curious how those compare with this first pregnancy for sure. All right, let's move into the gender reveal section. Now, I did do the NIPT testing, non-invasive prenatal testing. It's a blood test, and they say that you can start doing it at week 10. Although from what I read online and what one of my doctors said, they recommended that I wait a little bit closer to like week 12 because I am a heavier person, and if you are more overweight, you may not get as strong of a result early on. So I went basically at like 11 and a half weeks because I had a doctor's appointment that morning to, just check up stuff. And it was in the same building, so I thought, why not? So I did that testing, and the results came back actually very fast. The NIPT testing can scan for things like Down syndrome or other chromosomal abnormalities to help you be aware. And so I did want to take that, but you can also request to find out the gender from that. I was like, of course. There was never a doubt in my mind. I was always wanting to know. I'm too much of a planner to not know. So anywho, we did that and got the results. Now, we did plan to do a very low-key gender reveal with both families. Jake's family had by this point found out we were pregnant. But I wanted to have like a fun moment, like in a fun gathering, to be together with people to all find out together. So shout out to my friend Alex. I had her log in to my account just to make sure stuff was like looking good and I wasn't going to find out the gender early right away if I didn't want to before our gender reveal. And so she was like, yep, all looks good. You can click to view the results with gender or without. So we were glad to see the test results were all good and that we were in the clear from the genetic abnormalities, because those tests are very secure. Then the gender reveal comes around. It's actually my birthday weekend, so that was also very fun. And so because of that, I do have a clip here of us finding out. Now, a lot of people do all the cute, like, blue and pink things and the different gimmicks. But I wanted to also show, because I think social media and the online world has, in a way, corrupted, like, making people think that they have to go over the top for different events when you really don't have to. So I do want to just show ours as well, because all it was, there were no gimmicks. We got food for people, and we just opened the results on my computer and announced it. So we didn't buy any garbage or cheap decor. There was no gimmicks. So you don't have to, just because you see people doing cute things online for the views, you don't have to do that. You can keep it simple and still have the fun moment of a reveal. So anyway, here's the clip. Well, yes, so I'm going to click on view my results.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It may prompt me with some questions.
Should I put this on video? Oh yeah, I got video on this guy.
There's sauce on my face.
Oh, okay.
Alrighty, it's loading. Loading PDF. Female! It's a girl!
Congrats!
Yay!
So what are the girl names? Or is it too sudden?
Give him a little. No, you're good.
That's amazing.
So we were right.
Our collective group did know. We got the.
I said girl all along. Let it be known.
I think one will be good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So definitely was very excited to find out. Truly, I was going to be stoked either way, whether we were having a boy or a girl. And I think I could probably make a list of like 100 reasons why having a boy would be better and 100 reasons why having a girl would be better, for our first child. Ultimately, I would love to get to experience parenting both a boy and a girl over the course of our having kids together. But having a girl just feels so exciting to me. I think I naturally am very girl power and supporting women and really truly believing that women can do anything. And honestly, if women ran our world, I think we'd have so many fewer problems than we do now. Anyway, so having a girl is just truly so exciting and so special to me. And it's made the process so much more real, knowing and being able to call her our daughter and or baby girl. So that's been amazing. And yeah, it was truly such a magical time to be able to find that out. And you've seen me cry in this video already and in this clip as well that you saw. I guess that's been another symptom. I guess just the heightened emotions. I cry so easily now, but almost 100% has been positive tears, grateful tears, tears of getting excited about what's to come. Even if I see a cute little girl, like at a store or something with her mom, I start crying because I'm so excited that that gets to be me. So yeah, I've been a fun time. Jake's very sweet and supportive. Also, maybe this wasn't a good idea, but I started listening to some Rachel Platten music, and she's got some very like baby inspired songs and songs for girls, like having daughters. And so yeah, some of those get me every time. But anyway, yeah, we are so thrilled and can't wait to meet her in April. Lastly, let's talk about second trimester, though I'm obviously only about I'm only through the first portion of it. But as a lot of people say, second trimester does get a lot better. And it's almost been weird how good it's gotten. I think if we were to say, you know, what percentage of normal capacity am I operating at? I think first trimester, I'd say I was about 75% of my normal self in terms of how good I felt. And honestly, I'm like 90 to 95% feeling like my normal self. There's just been a few little things that have cropped up, and what's funny is it doesn't necessarily seem like it's related, but then I look it up and it is related to pregnancy. So for instance, I was wondering if I was getting sick because I had a lot of congestion, like nasal congestion, especially when sleeping. So I'm like, oh man, am I getting a cold or something? But turns out that's a very common thing in second trimester, and I guess for some it can persist longer. So that's definitely been my biggest second trimester symptom thus far, is I do have to sleep on propped up pillows now. I'm still sleeping pretty well, but definitely, not as great as first trimester when I got home from the trip. I've had a couple days of headache, but it was never that bad that I had to take anything for them. And then I had 2 days with acid reflux. The first day I didn't really put two and two together. I was like, what's this feeling? Because I had never experienced it before. But then the second day when it happened, I thought, okay, yep. So I took my Tums that I bought earlier on, and that did help a bit. But then I also was like, okay, we got to be a little more careful maybe about what we're eating for dinner. And fortunately, it hasn't been a problem since. Occasionally, I do experience some nausea, but that's usually fixed by having a snack or eating something after. I also have had some periodic little cramps, like a period cramp, and I looked that up, and apparently, I guess as the uterus grows or the tendons with it, you can have some periodic cramps, but that's really been the only symptoms so far. I will admit, the thing I'm most nervous about within pregnancy, in terms of what you're supposed to do, is coming up with the sleeping. Since you're not really supposed to sleep on your back, I think post week 20. And I've always been a back sleeper, and in the past, not pregnant, just living life, if I lay on my side or stomach, I do feel nauseous after a few minutes. So I'm really not like a great cuddler in bed, because I'll be on my side and okay, I'm feeling nauseous, back to my back. So I am a little nervous for that, because even still, I've noticed if I lay on my side, I do start to feel nauseous. So that may be tricky. I did purchase a pregnancy pillow wedge thing, so we will try that. There was a study done in, I believe it's Expecting Better, the book by Emily Oster, which I loved, and I read one of her other ones as well about parenting. Allegedly, maybe it's not as big of a deal in terms of they didn't see actual risks from people laying on their backs. I'm not remembering the study right now, but I still ideally want to not sleep on my back if I can avoid it. So that might be tricky, but hey, It's been great to sleep while I have been able to. It's been awesome. I also should say they had me take my metformin up through first trimester, which can help prevent miscarriages. So I did take that, and I also took the progesterone suppositories through, I think, the end of week 12, again, also to prevent miscarriage. And then they did have me go off the metformin, and I also could stop the progesterone suppositories. And then they did have me do an early glucose test, a 1-hour glucose test, around week 14 or 15. I think it was 15 when I did it. And I did pass, so that was good. Some women with PCOS are more disposed to gestational diabetes, so they wanted to make sure I was good early on. And then I'll do the test that people normally do later on in the pregnancy. I think that covers the gist of this video here, but I won't be turning my channel into a pregnancy channel, but I will do a couple more videos related to it. I mean, shoot, I've been so eager to make these for so long. I think the next one I'll do will be a Q&A. So if you've got any questions related to anything about the pregnancy or, things that we're thinking about with it, please ask. You can ask in the comments below. And that video will probably come out more so at like the end of the year, so it will be a little while. But the next video I'll be filming after I film this one will be a travel hacking video, so there will be a little bit of a pause, but that Q&A video will be coming. But anyway, thank you so much for listening. I know this was a long one today, but I am just so thrilled to be able to finally announce it and share and get to experience this journey. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.